And good day to you, and welcome to this edition of Midwest Ag This Week. I'm Stu Ellis. I take care of the farm chores here at WCIA 3. In the next few minutes, we'll talk about what farmers jeopardize if they avoid COVID shots, how cover crops are a solution to weed control in non-GMO soybean production. We'll visit with AGCO's CEO about farm implement technology, and we'll talk to a farmer in his combine cab about this year's corn crop. We'll have all that and more on Midwest Ag This Week, starting right now.
Welcome to Midwest Ag This Week with host Stu Ellis.
Question for you. How many farmers are vaccinated against COVID? Not as many as should be. Carle Hospital Trauma Supervisor Mary Beth Voits, who farms with her husband, says your family farm could be lost for want of a vaccination.
If you look right now, the highest percentage of ICU bed usage per capita and lack of ICU beds are in the rural environments. Our rural partners are getting sick, and they're getting very sick and needing ICU.
You could pick it up from part store, the elevator, wherever you might happen to be.
Absolutely. You don't realize that you're interacting with your friends and neighbors. Even when you run into the cafe to pick up that lunch that's going to go out to the combine, you could have exposed not only yourself, but also your family member to germs that are on that lunch sack.
Now, somebody on the farm catches COVID in the middle of harvest, that probably shuts down harvest.
Yeah, that is a huge, I'd say that's one of the most significant concerns you should have at this time of year. There's a lot of risk involved in farming, and you and I both know that. But this is a risk that we can control. We can get vaccinated, and we can be sure to limit our response to this virus. So if COVID takes me down during harvest, and I have a significant or worse, severe case, I'm either incapacitated. Friends that I had could not finish a shower, let alone go out and do chores and feed their livestock. And that was a non-hospitalized case of COVID. The fatigue is phenomenal. It is severe. If I'm hospitalized, then I'm down. Somebody's got to come in and harvest the crop when it's ready.
If a farmer goes in the hospital with COVID and doesn't come home, that could spell the end of the family farm.
It could. We live on really tight margins right now. And even though the price of corn's been up this past year, we've been lucky. A lot of people had still a lot of loan that was out there. And so the family farm could indeed be lost from any sudden illness that results in disability, or death. Yes, unfortunately. It's a real risk.
As you make cropping plans for 2022, and if non-GMO soybeans are included, what's your weed control program? Illinois Soybean Association's conservation agronomist Abigail Peterson says the solution might be a cereal rye crop, a cover crop, planted this fall.
This farmer here is from Penfield, and he has really controlled weeds in this particular field.
And so this example, he wanted to let that cereal rye grow out and head out and then roll it down. And that created this great mat that we have on the floor between the soybean rows that really is maximizing the inches between the rows to get the benefits of really smothering the weeds itself. So this is a great practice, but you don't need to go this intense your first time around. Doing something like cereal rye at a 50-pound rate, 65-pound rate, drilling, getting good ground cover. If you're looking for that benefit in the spring, planting green can be an option, but just doing so at 6 to 8 inches and terminating at planting or soon after when the field is fit is a great start, and you can get a lot of benefits that way. Also, working with cover crop farmers, it's the flexibility of what they can do in the spring. So, this farmer has the experience of where he could go a foot tall and know how to manage it, and he can go 6 feet tall and knows how to manage it. So this is a great opportunity for farmers to learn what this type of system can provide, and even in the long run. So we might have 6 foot tall sterile rye one year, a couple inches the next year, and as long as you just keep doing something every single year, you're going to be adding benefits, and that's the important thing when we're doing these practices, is doing them long term, understanding what we need to change in the rotation, what things we can start to eliminate. Like we can start to eliminate a chemical pass, we can maybe start to eliminate a certain type of tillage passes or fertility passes. So it's looking at all those different aspects and looking at your ROI versus what your agronomic needs are, and making it a balance.
Some great things to think about, thanks to Abigail Peterson, the Illinois Soybean Association.
We've got some hot weather.
Hot, it has been.
We've got some wind out there. We have some corn that's drying down. You can almost see it shrink.
Yeah.
Seeing beans that are starting to really get pretty warm, dry below that 13% level in some cases.
And those soil temperatures too, they're warm as well, so things are dry. We could use a drink of rain. That latest drought monitor that came out this week, Stu. You can see some of that yellow showing in there, abnormally dry. Of course, we don't need a lot of rain at this point, but I think the farmers would like a little bit.
A little bit would help, because that means they don't have to re-wet their grain.
Yes.
Which is a no-no.
The good news is the heat is on the way out here. We see those temperatures by early next week expected to fall. We're seeing some of those temperatures back into the 70s. I think that'll be a welcome relief for farmers here. What we do anticipate, though, is with the drop in temperatures comes an increase in chance for rain. And that's going to come, we think, by Sunday night, Monday, and Tuesday, primarily here. That's going to be the main time for rain for us here across the region. Not a whole lot of it, but enough where I think that's going to help with that drying of the crops, that moisture really exiting pretty quickly here, and that'll help reset things. Looking forward, though, still the 8 to 14-day outlook does look drier than normal. That's going to be for the following week here, that last week of September. So I think the farmers are going to be getting plenty of time to still work and working long days here. The cooler weather also is expected to stick around. Here's that 8 to 14-day outlook, slightly cooler here. So that should keep us in the 70s, maybe low 80s. I think the upper 80s will be done here after this week. Maybe a day or two can sneak on in. October as well, looking near normal for rain chances, but we're also expecting a little bit of a warmer look to that than average. That's not talking extreme heat, but I think the trend is a little warmer, and near normal temperatures. Still going to be overall, I think, good for harvest. But we need that rain. It's coming Monday and on Tuesday.
The one thing that'll happen is that we probably won't spend as much money on propane to dry down that corn this year.
That's good news. Save on some of those energy costs that might be associated.
That's right.
But a little bit of rain will be helpful. That looks to come by Monday and Tuesday, and I think the farmers will get a little break too. They've been busy. A lot of fields have really been cranking
Well,
up.
as you'll hear just in a moment, why one farmer is really going hard and fast, and that's coming up. How's the corn crop looking? What concerns farmers are seeing? That's next.
Welcome back to Midwest Ag This Week.
Agribusiness executives were plentiful at the Farm Progress Show, and one of the many I visited with was Eric Hansotia, Chairman, CEO of AGCO Corporation.
And so we've been running really hard to try and keep our demand flowing so that we can keep farmers farming. That's kind of the short-term answer. But the more exciting thing is where we're focused on the long term. You can see here at the show a lot of new product, a lot of new smart machines, and we're focusing a lot of our innovation on making these machines be able to adjust themselves to be able to do the tasks for the farmer that are complicated. And so whether that's the ideal combine automatically adjusting through crop conditions, or the momentum planter automatically changing its population rate or depth control, these machines are being able to do more and more for the farmer.
And you're seeing farmers at this point getting a good look at some of the new technology. What do your salespeople have to tell you about there? Do they really like them? Are they ready to buy?
Absolutely. I've been hearing all morning that this is one of the most excited crews we've had for, well, of course last year there wasn't a show, but the farmers are very excited to get back out, talk to our people, see the equipment. and they finally got some profitability back in their businesses. So when they come and be able to see this new technology, not only will it make their farm easier to operate, but it also puts more dollars in their pocket, and that's a great thing for our farmer communities. Our intention for AGCO is to be the most farmer-focused company of anybody in the industry. So we've been spending a lot of energy of getting closer to farmers all the way through the development process of our products and our sales channel. A lot of time in the field.
How have you been able to do that? That's an interesting concept.
Well, I grew up working on a dairy farm in Wisconsin and went to school for engineering, so I've got a passion for this intersection of innovation and farmer connection. And there's a lot of people like that in AGCO. And so we've done different things, like we've got some model farms. Just down the road here is the Precision Technology Institute. It's a farm that we own, 400 acres, and we do test plots one after another. And then we do new farming practices or new farming technologies right next to each other. And then we bring farmers through and we get their feedback.
How's the Central Illinois corn harvest looking? We checked in with Pete Pistorius, who farms over several counties and has good yields, but he also has some stock quality concerns.
Stock quality has been, it's kind of varied from field to field. I do believe that even though we sprayed fungicide, there's quite a bit of disease pressure in a lot of these fields, and so the stalks are deteriorating quickly. Especially with the warm weather we have right now, it seems like the stalks are really starting to break down. So, we're seeing moistures right now that are 20% and probably dropping pretty quickly around that point of the day in some of these fields.
So you've got quite a bit of corn to harvest. You've got beans coming on. What's your management plan for harvest?
Hard and fast is our plan. So we're going to try to get as much done as we can every day, and we're going to stick to this corn. Probably have 10 more days of corn for us, and then we'll start to have some of our early beans ready. And we're just going to have to switch over to beans and try to hammer those out as quickly as we can, and hope that some of this corn holds its moisture.
Okay. Now you mentioned some fields have disease, and I know you had Flying Illini Ag Service put on Veltima earlier this year. How did that work out?
Yeah, it was accurate. It worked out really well. We did use Veltima, which we had really good control of disease early. But we just had such a pretty conducive environment for disease all summer long, and so disease was coming at us all year, and so the Veltima we were using had about 21 days of control, but then the pests and diseases kept coming. So we didn't use a second application of fungicide. Looking back on it, it probably would have paid pretty big dividends.
Pistorius said he was able to take advantage of some of the early delivery premiums that were offered by Decatur area processors. Well, do farmers talk to their crop? Okay. In the background, we see somebody who is in the combine. Matt Bennett is with us today with our report on markets. And Matt, you are farming in the Windsor area. How's your crop going?
It's going really good. We actually started soybeans there on Thursday afternoon. We actually picked quite a bit of corn here this week, and it's going well. I mean, kind of like Pete, we actually had pretty darn good yields. Definitely a lot of disease pressure, but at the same time, we sprayed fungicide on everything, and so we got along really well. The soybeans actually yielding excellent, so we're really happy with them. We're getting to them just in time, so tests around 13.5%.
We appreciate that report. Tell me, let's talk about the markets. We're suddenly 21 crops are cash crops now, and we've at least held a little bit of ground.
Yes, we have. So basically, your September crop report, you came in, and we had a rough week going into that report. Got bearish news, but that's what we were expecting, was a bigger crop on both corn and beans, bigger carryouts for both corn and beans. But the nice thing is we were able to bounce last Friday and actually have a solid close. Came in this week, and Monday was kind of rough at the start, but the rest of the week actually turned out okay. Yes, we gave back some gains here on Friday, but overall the market performed fairly well. I think whenever I look at corn and beans, I'm looking at two different things. It sure seems to me that this corn crop might be not growing, if you will. I just think that there's a lot of issues with producers maybe being a little bit disappointed with yields, in other parts of the corn belt. I think from where you're at, Stu, to where I'm at, we've got pretty good yields, but in a lot of other places, that's not the case. Whereas with soybeans, I feel like the August weather is probably going to be conducive to this October yield from the USDA maybe coming up just a bit.
We've got about 10 seconds left. What should farmers be looking at as far as the 22 crop? Should they be doing some pre-sales?
Yeah, there's good opportunities. If you're locking in a ton of fertilizer and locking in a lot of your input costs, you sure better be doing some of the other side of it as well, and maybe locking in some decent 22.
Okay. Matt Bennett, we appreciate your help today. Matt not only farms at Windsor, but is a co-founder of agmarket.net. We'll be right back. Well, do farmers talk to their crop, talk to their livestock? They've done that for years, but soon they're going to be talking to their crop and having it answer back to them. That's according to corn breeder Steve Moose at the University of Illinois, as you'll hear in this report from the U of I College of Aces.
This new center for research on programmable plant systems, we are trying to use the whole sensor world to listen and understand plants better, and then be able to use that information to actually talk back to the plants and help them grow better.
Now, a lot of farmers may be familiar with tissue testing, where they can see what a plant's going to be needing in a week or two, but you're doing something a lot more than that.
Yeah, we hope that the plant will be actually a living sensor that will tell in a very fast way what it's sensing in the nitrogen world or its water status and nutrients, and so that then farmers might be able to do a faster corrective action. Instead of finding out before it's too late, they might get an early warning.
And what would that warning come in the form of?
So it might be that the leaf might change a color, or it might send some kind of digital signal that then a rover or a drone or some other kind of automated system could pick up.
Digital signal. So that's coming from the roots or the leaves or somewhere in the corn plant.
Yeah, so one idea we have, it's a collaboration with scientists at Cornell, and one of their ideas is that you could have a circuit that senses the root, but yet the visible outcome would be seen in the leaf.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of this could happen to a computer because it's coming through a digital signal and it's going to show up somewhere.
That's right. Yeah, so a whole nother part of the project, we have a team of engineers and computer experts where a drone, for example, could download the information right there at the field, and instead of having to process it later, it would process it on site and send, say, a small little packet of information to a grower or a researcher.
Okay, and he could respond in some way with nitrogen or another nutrient or water or whatever it would be.
Yeah, so one idea application we envision is if we get an early warning signal on nitrogen, we could actually slow the plant down such that farmers would have a better window to apply the nitrogen that they need.
Okay. The plant's sending signals, but you're also looking at microbes too, the little guys that help feed nutrients to the roots.
Right, so just like a lot of things in the plant we can't see, we also can't see underground very well. And so these microbes, maybe we'll be able to sense them and then detect them and show in the leaves that they're there. The good ones are there and how much is there.
Well, those corn plants certainly need a lot of nutrients. But how do you remove too many nutrients that are flowing out of field trials? We'll show you next. Fayette County farmer Eric Miller is one of a few farmers who have bioreactors to remove nitrates flowing from field tiles. But in the short time that he's had them, he's learned what to do and what not to do, as we hear in this edition of Shop Talk.
We caught up with Eric Miller as he was replacing the media in the bioreactors that prevent nitrates from entering a major ditch that connects dozens of farms. And he says the biofilters are important to him personally.
So we are just trying to, be better stewards, I guess, reduce our, footprint of nutrient loss, fertilizers, leaving our water going to the ditch and being somebody else's problem. So we're doing many different things, different crop rotations, cover crops in non-crop seasons, and we feel that a bioreactor also has the ability to remove some nitrates.
Bioreactors may last a long time, but the filtering material in them does not. They should have lasted a lot longer than they did. But the bioreactors were filled with recycled yard waste from Decatur, which quickly turned into compost.
The bioreactor we're looking at behind us here was installed in 2015, so 6 years ago. The expected life was probably about a decade at that time, but we've had some issues with sidewall slumping and wood chips degrading quicker than that, so we have modified them slightly. So we had to take what the city of Decatur provided, and you're exactly right. It was probably too many leaves, too many grass clippings, too many, stems and twigs, and not enough, true meat of the tree.
The lesson here is get good wood chips. Recycled yard waste does not work well. And with the Farm Progress Show concluding at Decatur, there's plenty of wood chips for the asking.
So we are blessed to have that location just about 20 miles to the west of us here, so we can source that. It's all uniform product. It's 3 species that we know, that's what we're getting. And if we need to top them off in a couple more years, we'll be able to go back and get some more.
So Miller's bioreactors are being filled with authentic wood chips from hardwood trees that'll serve as the carbon source for the microbes that will remove nitrates from water flowing out of field tiles. And that's advice for everyone considering a bioreactor. Plenty of wood chips every 2 years that need a home.
One of those things that the benefits from the Farm Progress Show that nobody really knew until Eric says that's where he got his wood chips. Well, that concludes this edition of Midwest Ag This Week. We hope you've benefited from some of the information you heard and saw today, and hope that you'll share it with your farming colleagues. On behalf of the Midwest Ag This Week team, we invite you to join us again next week at this same time. I'm Stu Ellis, reminding you to be safe in the cab, doing chores, and always around grain bins. After all, next week is Farm Safety Week.